Erin Patterson has spent her first night behind bars as a convicted triple murderer. The 50-year-old could still launch an appeal against the jury's verdict that she murdered 3 of her lunch guests and tried to kill another one.
Images from a police search of Erin Patterson's home have been released to the press following the guilty verdict. Reporter Alexandra Alvaro has been covering the trial. She joins us now from Morwell in southeast Victoria. Alex, good morning. Can you tell us about some of these exhibits that were shown to the jury during the trial?
Good morning. Well, we heard a lot about the plates that were used to serve this beef Wellington meal on during the trial. Ian Wilkinson, the sole surviving guest of the lunch, he gave evidence during the trial, and he said that Erin Patterson served herself on an orange tan plate and served the rest of the guests on grey plates. And the prosecution argued during the trial that the reason that she did this was to colour code the plates in a way to mark the beef Wellingtons, the individual beef Wellingtons, so that she didn't poison herself and so that she could give a poisoned meal to her guests. Now, Erin Patterson, of course, denies this. She says that Ian Wilkinson was honestly mistaken when he said this, and that she used a variety of different coloured plates for the meal, and she doesn't own a full set of plates or the grey plates. And as you can see from these photos that hopefully you've got up at the moment, police were very interested in the plates when they searched Erin Patterson's home on the 5th of August. This was about a week after that beef Wellington lunch. It was the same day that Erin was interviewed by police, where she lied about owning a dehydrator and lied about foraging for mushrooms. Those were admitted lies, but you can also see a photo. There's the Recipe Tin Eats cookbook in one of the photos. This is the photo that, the recipe book rather, that Erin Patterson used for that beef Wellington recipe. Police say they found cooking splatters on the page of the beef Wellington recipe. We also have now some photos that were shown to the jury of the beef Wellington leftovers, and these leftovers were tested after the lunch, in the weeks after the lunch, and they were tested by multiple scientists. They were first tested by a mycologist, a mushroom expert, and she told the jury that she couldn't actually see death cap mushrooms in those leftovers, but she could see field mushrooms, and the prosecution argues that Erin Patterson dehydrated the death cap mushrooms and she blitzed them up. A toxicologist also tested those leftovers, and what he found were amatoxins, death cap mushroom toxins in those leftovers. So you can see those leftovers being ready for testing in those photos that have now been released to the press.
Alex, you've been covering this trial for weeks now. Can you describe the mood in court yesterday, but also in Morwell in general?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly, it doesn't really look like it now, but it was so busy in this forecourt yesterday, just media dotted around, members of the public looking on as soon as word managed to spread that the jury had come to a verdict. And, inside the courtroom, by contrast, from all accounts, it was incredibly quiet. One of my colleagues told me you could hear a pin drop as the verdict was being read out by the jury foreperson on those 4 charges, and my colleague told me that Erin Patterson appeared neutral. She didn't give much away, but she was blinking rapidly, and that's something that we saw throughout the trial, even as Erin was giving evidence or just sitting observing the proceedings.
Alex Alvaro, thank you.
Well, many economists are predicting another interest rate cut today after the RBA meets. Our reporter Max Tillman is in Sydney for us. Good morning, Max. What the board decides, of course, will have a big impact on households around the country. What do we know at this stage? What's being predicted?
Good morning, Bridget. Well, we could be gearing up for our 3rd interest rate drop of the year. Now, the cash rate currently stands at 3.85%. Now, that's effectively the interest rate that banks use to borrow money amongst each other, and it obviously has a really material effect on interest rates, and particularly for those who are currently paying a mortgage. But it is very much up to each individual financial institution as to how they decide to pass that rate drop, if there is one, onto consumers. Now, as you were saying, a lot of economists are predicting we're expecting to see another drop after the Reserve Bank's meeting today. They're anticipating it could be 0.25 of a percentage point. That would take the cash rate down to 3.6%. Now, we've already seen 2 drops this year. We saw one in February. The last one was in May when the cash rate was dropped from 4.1 to where it currently stands at 3.85%. Now, there is a little bit of discussion amongst economists and the banks. Most economists predict we could see 4 or more interest rate drops throughout the rest of the year. The banks are being a little bit more conservative. They're anticipating potentially 2 more drops. Now, today's meeting started yesterday. The Reserve Bank have been meeting on Monday, and their meeting is due to end at about 2:30 p.m. this afternoon here in Sydney. And if there is any change to the interest rate, and particularly the cash rate, we'll find out what that cash rate drop is after 2:30. And then, of course, the big ticket item, particularly for those paying mortgages, is whether those banks decide to pass it on. And we'll find that out this afternoon.
Thanks very much, Max.
The Australian Federal Police is investigating the major data breach involving Qantas, with the airline revealing a potential cyber criminal has made contact with it. It comes less than a week after the airline announced hackers had stolen the data of up to 6 million customers. Qantas says it's working to verify the legitimacy of the contact. The airline has not said if a ransom was sought.
The White House says the death toll in the Texas flash floods has risen to 91. Search efforts are continuing for the dozens of people who remain missing. Officials are warning the death toll is likely to increase, and US President Donald Trump says he'll likely visit the flood zone on Friday.
Meanwhile, the US president has set a 25% import tariff on all goods from Japan and South Korea from next month. Donald Trump confirmed the move on his social media platform, where he posted images of the letters he sent to the leaders of both countries. The president is also sending letters to dozens of other countries, notifying them that they will face increased tariff rates.
Back home, federal opposition leader Susan Lee will visit the East Melbourne Synagogue today after it was the target of an alleged arson attack on Friday. The incident has been condemned by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, and the Victorian Premier has announced an anti-hate task force.
4 councillors have resigned from the City of Nedlands Council in Perth's western suburbs. One claimed the environment was constantly toxic. The mayor says the resignations are good news for ratepayers and alleges they worked against her. Only 3 councillors and the mayor remain, and a commissioner will be installed.
The South East Queensland Zoo, where a woman was mauled by a lion at the weekend, will reopen today. The Darling Downs Zoo has confirmed the woman is a member of the owner's extended family, with Workplace for Health and Safety investigating the incident.
The federal Greens are calling on the Prime Minister to declare South Australia's algal bloom a national disaster. The toxic bloom was first detected in March off the Fleurieu Peninsula, resulting in masses of dead sea animals washing up on shore. About 8,000 marine deaths have been recorded so far.